more waste in landfills.
And I had
It would be nice if we could just slide it out the wood, but then just slide the
Why don't we make our own?
high school scholastic media association.
Do you want to?
Council Hard.
Yeah, that's always the focus.
That's what I mean. Council Hard.
And then, yeah, I've been to work here.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yes. I spent the last 3 days with my son and girlfriend. My son called catfish over 2 pounds for his first one. He's bigger than this in 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting inside watching TV and the phone rings. Can't get out of here. He's up himself.
Hey, second biggest thing he's caught.
But it worked out.
Mm-hmm.
Your glasses, you can make those.
I do find everything. Everything's for my readers. But then this I found on Amazon, which is great for like when I'm reading a full book. I love it.
I need
$10.
that this weekend.
Magnifying. It's horrible.
I needed that this weekend when I was
Yeah.
Oh,
Emily, Cleveland does have an application, right?
Traffic man, those eyes are getting smaller and smaller.
I thought it,
And yet when he goes through.
if there's an existing one, we'll see that
I
then.
love that.
If he shows, but talk to him about it, I mean, he's,
He was posted in like an email that I think he used.
oh, okay.
That's where we're at.
What's that? Yeah.
Oh, I found a piece of paper. Do you know that Flat Rock has a kudzu eradication
Yeah.
program and somebody in the state pays?
Well, this spring road out here today.
Yeah.
That's what,
Mm-hmm.
They call, I don't understand, because if you read the agreement, the town takes care of all of that. But the clerk up there told Danny it was, they only allocate $5,000 to the program, which I think we have a lot of that too.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a start.
Yeah.
one of the things that we talked about in the past was setting up a fund and make who manages it. And they involved the county, all 3 towns, and anybody who'd like to make a donation, any grants that you could apply for. Then that same committee would decide whether to start in one town, whether to start in the county, or whether to start in one of each of them. And
I think it'd be easier to tell the damn citizens to kill the kudzu on their property and be done with it.
well, you
Hey, we're talking business,
Huh?
we're talking business in the meeting of the started there.
where's my, where's
It's
my microphone?
10 o'clock.
Where's my
It's
little
10
microphone?
Oh, yeah,
Where's my little microphone?
or you got,
I'm
you're
not loud enough.
recording it, right?
Got 10 o'clock. Okay, I call this meeting that we recessed back to order. Jim?
If you turn to the back page of the agenda that Emily gave you, we'd like to make some modifications, to add to the continued meeting. On the town management side, we'd like to add, we have a vacancy in Harmfield Board. Greg Myers suffered some health issues and decided he wanted to step down. And Steve Nealon has expressed interest, he'd like to be reappointed. The second item is the sidearm mower that we want to do financing on. It got delivered, we have to pay for it. It's part of the budget amendment later on the agenda. We'd like to ask you to approve it contingent upon local government commission approval. So I'd like to add that item. And Mayor, I guess you had one item, citizen of the year, you want to add for today's meeting?
Yeah, citizen of the year.
Okay. And then council member Skip Crow has 5 items he'd like you to consider to add. They're on the back side of the agenda. Invasion program for weed control, addressing citizen concerns on Lindport Galaxy area, a cell tower update where we stand on that, enforcement of town ordinances, and community block grants. So those are the 3 categories that being added if you want to amend the agenda.
Sure.
Any questions? Chair will entertain a motion to amend the agenda, add these items as specified by the manager.
I make the motion.
All in favor, aye? Opposed, likewise, motion carries.
First item on the agenda, you continued to close the public hearing, my understanding, is that correct? On the budget? Okay. You continued the budget ordinance, and I reviewed it and made a couple changes to it. Basically, just later assessed valuation numbers.
Yeah, the county changed the assessed valuation. When we originally did the budget ordinance, there was still a significant amount under appeal. So once all of those went through and the county sent updated numbers, it changed the revenue neutral rate, which in turn, changed the proposed tax rate.
So one thing required in the budget presentation is I've got a spreadsheet in front of you. It shows that the current tax rate for the current year is 55.6 cents. The revenue neutral rate, because of the assessed valuation, is 0.4028. And management recommended a 2.5 cent tax increase. So the new tax rate would be 42.78 cents. And then Tryon Fire Department, which the county has already approved their budget, their current tax rate is 12.86 cents. Revenue neutral is 0.0938, and they're recommending a 1 cent increase to go to 0.1038. Last year, the fire chief and I recommended a 2 cent tax increase. In meeting with Marsh Pitman and the county commissioners, they decided to do a 1 cent increase to Harmon Field, 1 cent to the fire. And this 1 cent will pay for the loan payment for the new engine we got delivered back in September. Also, the sanitation fund, we're recommending a 4% increase, which is about a $1 increase in the residential rates. And then the mayor, I guess it was back in March of 2020, I think, you guys approved a capital improvement plan for water and sewer and recommended a 5% increase for 15 years to address the capital needs and future debt service. And I think we've got good news we've been sharing is many of the projects out of the gate have received full grant funding, except for that $600,000 no interest loan for Brayward. So the consultant recommended 5% for 15 years, but I think they assumed we'd not get any grants. So far we're doing pretty good on that. I did submit some projects to our state senator. I'm not sure if they're going to be doing any first trading and putting special projects on, but I submitted about $4 million worth of capital projects for them. So, any questions on the budget?
What was that $4 million? What kind of projects?
I wanted to go for what we call shovel-ready projects. We did a grant application for a water line down 176, and that's $2.5 million. We submitted Derby Road, which is a project we already had designed, those projects. We also submitted the design costs if we get the FEMA grant for the Lake Lanier Dam. There's been a hold on all the grant applications out of Washington until the federal government goes through and reviews everything. But, any questions on the budget?
No questions. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the budget as presented by the manager. So, all in favor, aye? All opposed, likewise, motion carries. Okay, thank you, Jim.
Okay, stepping down to item 18A. We mentioned that in detail, looking for any possibilities. A lot of times we'll appropriate fund balance just to be on the safe side if any invoices come in. If any services are rendered through June 30th, if an invoice comes in July or August, September, that gets accrued. And we looked at encumbrances of purchase orders outstanding. And then, so I thought I'd go through it. In the general fund, it's about $240,000 changes. Emily brought to my attention that we have a health reimbursement account. This is should be FY 24-25 budget number 6. We've got notice from our medical insurance provider.
Yeah.
So we're recommending increasing that by 25,000. The capital equipment, we talked about doing a loan for the sidearm mower. We still want to do that, but it got delivered. We had to pay for it. In fact, it's on the road working now. We had to pay cash for it and then budget for that. Repairs and maintenance 5,000. Electricity 5,000 increase. About 15,000 in street department benefits and contract services. Only 212 in the street department. The cemetery appears to be we're going to come in under, but I decided to add the 3,000 just in case an invoice comes in. The source of money is not the fund balance. We've gotten $38,000 higher than budget for property taxes, 20,000 in motor vehicle tax revenue came in better than expected, and all our sales tax numbers have come in better than budget. So we're using additional revenue, not fund balance, to pay for these changes. In the Cal bill fund, I budgeted to do a loan. That's not going to happen, as of June 30th. So I'm recommending reversing that approval we did back in May and take it back to no loan. And then the sanitation fund, we've got a truck in the spots for repair. So I'm being on the safe side, I'm recommending appropriating fund balance to cover any, because basically it's a break-even fund. And then water and sewer fund, the only really changes we're doing is, as I mentioned to you during the budget workshop, we got our money from the state to pay off the interconnect loan. And all three towns, Saluda, Columbus, and Tryon, got an extra $605,000 extra. And so we paid off part of the principal for the water treatment plant. But I didn't take the whole thing to do it, because I mentioned to you that I want to use about $200,000 of that money to pay for the FY 26 debt payment for the water treatment plant. That will free us some extra money that we badly need. And the Public Works Committee will go through some projects, like maybe a sewer plant, a water plant, that we can use that extra cash for. And then finally, the Harmon Field, that budget's been tight this year. As you know, we get township tax, and then we also have about $75,000 in rental income for Harmon Field. This year, because of the lien, we've got nothing. And so it's been a tight budget. All the major repairs have gone through the special fund 19 for lane, but it appears we might need to use some of the fund balance to cover some of the bills out there that belong to Harmon Field. So that's the budget amendment. Be the last one for the year. Any questions?
My motion to approve the budget amendment number 6.
I'll make a motion.
Is it number 6? Got the motion, all in favor, aye? Likewise, motion carries.
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is item 18B. It says Town of Tryon, copy the storm Helene project ordinance. What a project ordinance in North Carolina is, it's a way to account for a project that goes over more than one fiscal year. We opened up Fund 19 back in October, when you made a $300,000 transfer from the general fund to the special fund to pay for Helene damages. And so what I decided to do, I sat down with Brad and Field Superintendent and Tim, our planning director, assistant manager, to go through all the detailed projects. And what I wanna do is I showed $300,000 transfer from the general fund. We got an insurance settlement. They spent all day Saturday and Sunday back in October, and they gave us $31,207 for wind damage. All that paperwork was given to FEMA. They're basically gonna reduce their payment by the $31,000. So I'm showing that as part of the revenue. FEMA's gonna pay roughly $2.7 million when it's all over. And then also too, we approved 2 loans we got from the state for cash flow. The first one was $164,000, the second one $108,000. And what had happened on that is I got on the phone and complained about this loan process. It really didn't make much sense to me. They called us up and said, Jim, you qualify for $1.3 million, but all we have is $164,000 in loan out. And the way the terms were written, it said that once you got the FEMA money, you gotta pay off the loan. I said, that could be a 30-day loan now, because cash flow is starting to move now. And I said, this doesn't really help us out. And so they went ahead and discussed it, and they agreed to delete all that language, so we can take our time and pay back these loans over the course of 5 years, no interest. It's gonna help out the cash flow a little bit, but it's all because their program didn't really make any sense. Whatever. The source of money, we got $2.75 million, that's on the high side. We're gonna repay the general fund the $300,000 when it's all over, and repay the 2 state loans. So roughly it's a project ordinance of $3.3 million. This will make sure that we stay in line and won't go over budget. And in October, we didn't know a whole lot what's gonna happen. We've got a better picture where we're headed. And so I recommend we approve this today, and that will make sure that we're in good shape on handling all the project costs. Any
Chair, I
questions?
have a motion to adopt the lien ordinance amendment as proposed by the manager. All in favor, aye? All opposed, likewise?
Item 18C is just to bring you up to speed where we stand on Harmon Field. The Delara baseball field, the one closest to the river, we signed a purchase order to proceed with that. It'll be starting in a couple weeks. We've ordered the playground to get reinstated. The Harmon Field board decided not to move it to the dog park. They decided to keep it where it's at. And so we're gonna do that, get new fencing and bring in engineered mulch for that. We also have signed a purchase order to redo the surface of the basketball court. It got scratched up pretty bad from the damage. So that'll be underway. Like I said earlier, the dog park's gonna stay where we're at. We've not done an order on the soccer fields yet. We're gonna be looking at the cash flow as it comes in, because of FEMA, they only reimburse us after we complete the project and after we have a canceled check. So we have to sort of like do this cat and mouse cash flow thing together. But overall, I mean, it's finally come together. We'll get it, I can see now light in the tunnel. And thanks to, Tim's effort and Brad working with FEMA. And we also received, I think it's some good news, and maybe interpret it as bad news, but the cabin has got to come down now. The good news is we've got a contractor estimate of $580,000, I think, to rebuild it. So that's mitigation money, plus the boardwalk, $162,000, and the screened-in porch money, and the old concession stand money. We're going to move that over to the community center building, because as you know, we got a grant back in 2007, I think it was, before I left here the first time. Nothing's been done with it, but it's an opportunity to make that a building, 10,000 square feet with a community kitchen, a large meeting room, so it'll give a place for events to happen. Also, too, we've been working with our FEMA consultant, the open air gym, where it had the catering kitchen idea we're gonna do. The Harmon Field Board and staff are looking at maybe putting public restrooms at that location. That way, if the Rotary wants to come back and have a shrimp fest there, they'd have brand new restrooms right next to the open air gym. Plus, it has a community building, we're looking toward getting that refurbished and so forth.
So are we not putting the catering kitchen
No.
in Navy? Okay,
We're gonna do bathrooms instead.
that makes sense.
This is,
The reason for that is, what happened, that changed thing is, the field house has to be torn down too.
What is wrong with it? It's a concrete block.
I know.
Bunker.
This is, what they said was, the county's got the rule, that if it's more than 50% to repair a grandfathered in project, like the open air gym, or the field house. I think it was 130 appraisal, 90,000 to repair. But the part where Brad and Tim are frustrated is, they'd make an excellent building to gut the inside and make it a storage room for like soccer nets, stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, the roof's still good. The exterior walls are all just as good as it. I don't understand it.
well, let me tell you, this is years ago when I was principal at Stearns. I kept asking why we didn't improve it, why we didn't improve it. So somebody finally came to the state. The building was probably worth $600,000. To make it up, what they required would be just under $1.5 million. And they said no. So you can't put kids in, people with adults in it. And that's why the central office, one of the two reasons the central office is there instead of somewhere else.
So the cabin gets torn down. Now, be sure you sell the cabin to somebody and just assemble it, because it's probably worth 15,000.
What's the rules on that?
Oh,
I mean, it doesn't have to go to landfill, does it?
let's ask Carlos about the specifics on that one, cause I remember when the boardwalk got washed away, we could open it to the public to come take, but I don't think we could sell any of it.
Mhm.
I don't know if this falls under that as,
No, our field.
But we're not gonna rebuild down there. That money goes up to the old school, right?
Right.
Okay.
It's gonna come back for a formal vote for the town board to do that. Carlos, works for Austin,
Roston,
he's a consultant for the county as well as us. He's writing a letter of intent to apply all this extra money for these projects to go toward that building and toward the restrooms at, the open air gym. But when you get that approval, we'll come back and get the council blessing. The Harmon Field Board, they wanna get more involved with the process. The only frustrating thing to, I think, staff here is the town has been on the limb for everything. Harmon Field Board didn't have any money to rebuild this park, if it wasn't for the town.
Yeah.
And so the cash flow is starting to get better, when the money comes in, we can reinvest it. And when it's all over, we'll pay back the town, pay back the state and so forth, but, I have had discussions with Warren Walker, the Harmon Field Board. He agrees that we need to get that community center building moving, because I think he's right that, the Harmon Field Board and the town are sort of in violation of that grant. You're supposed to maintain a facility that you get grant funds on, and the roof is collapsed on that thing. So I think putting the money there makes the most sense.
Mhm.
It does.
And what,
Yeah, it'd be a nice facility when it's
Yeah.
remodeled and done.
and what about the concession stand? I know you talked about just doing electrical outlets for food trucks, or,
We're looking at, doing that over by the equestrian area. Rather than redo the concession stand, we're kicking around the idea of making that public restrooms too, to benefit the ball fields as well as the equestrian, and then have plug-in things the Harmon Field Board put that idea on hold, pending if we get more and more things done.
But no, I think food trucks out there would probably be the.
I think concession stands is sort of like the old days.
Mm-hmm.
The food trucks, when I grew up as a kid, were just like the roach wagons,
or the.
Now they got people drive to for dinner, I mean, it's.
Yeah.
For
They
kitchens.
look forward to having them.
So they got some really good chefs who work these facilities, and the question folks like the idea because they get more variety, you have 2 or 3 different trucks at special event.
And if Harmon Field managed them, then they could get the rent.
Yeah.
I mean, it's $50, 75, 100, whatever
Take the power.
And the Harmon Field Board, I understand, they've mentioned to Brad that they like to dismantle some of the equestrian facilities for other amenities. What I like to recommend, is that Brad and I meet with the Blue Ridge Hunter Jumper Association and we'll try inviting the club to get their vision, what they like to see. Because after the Selene storm has hit, the only historical part of Harmon Field left is the equestrian area.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they need to make a recommendation continuing to stay out there. That was kind of the arrangement we did 20 years ago when we adopted the master plan, that one end of Harmon Field would be and remain equestrian unless they let us know they don't want to continue anymore. Our understanding is they want to get some horse shows going once it gets up there.
Hey Jim, is anybody going towards the pickleball area? I had someone bring up that the courts have been kind of rough lately playing on it, and there's like sand everywhere, and it could be dangerous. I guess the sandbags that hold up.
Well, Tim, you play pickleball, what's your comment on that?
Oh, Tim plays pickleball.
Well, I haven't played since the storm, but but yeah, so we did get like permanent nets. One's already in. We have the other one down by dispatch. It'll handle the sandbag stuff. There is talk about pulling up one of the tennis courts, one of the 3 with that mesh thing, pulling that up and putting 2 more courts there. That's in discussions. I mean, we have to talk to some groups before that, but yeah, we can clean that up, but to resurface the thing, I think it's like 20-something thousand. But that only like a resurface only lasts about 5-6 years. We'd have to do it again. But a whole redo, I want to say it was 180.
That would be close considering the cost, what it is to resurface the basketball court, and the same company does it.
Yeah, so it'd be, to wipe out the tennis courts
Yeah.
and pickleball and reconfigure that rectangle is about 180. But then that's long term. That would last a very long time. But to answer your question, yeah, I can talk to Brad and we can at least clean up what's there now. Yeah. But yeah, there shouldn't be any sandbags there after we put that second net in, because it's cemented into the ground.
And wasn't there a private group that was raising money for the pickleball at one point, or are they?
I know there's a group out there that
Okay.
does it, but I don't know if it was specifically targeted at our park.
Thought I read that in the paper, but that was
One of
hard.
the things we keep running into, whatever we do, if we decide to have a fundraiser, oftentimes people come in and go, oh my God, I didn't know it cost that much. And that's been the drawback to lots of things. The general public just doesn't get what it costs to put things in.
You're right about that.
Give you a prime example, I just had my track, it was surfaced 4 years ago and got this with small damage to it. But to correct it and fix it, cost $181,000. And all it did was repair the holes, spray 2 coats of whatever that stuff is on it, and reline it, $181,000. And that was the cheapest bid. That's kind of scary.
I know it is.
I guess, Mayor, the next item is, go to the back page of the agenda, item 1 for management. It's a recommendation, we have a vacancy at Harmon Field Board, and I guess we've had one person express interest, Steve Nealon.
Steve Neal, yeah. He already has an application on file from the last time he applied to be on stuff. So Greg has 1 year left on his term, so Steve would just be fulfilling the remaining year on Greg's term.
Any questions? Steve served on that board.
Yeah, he's good.
Cheryl, make a motion to appoint Steve to Harmon Field Board.
I make a motion.
All in favor, aye. Opposed, likewise, motion carries.
Next item is, the local government commission, meets Tuesday each month. And so we like to get on the LGC agenda for the August meeting to get the loan approval for the sidearm mower. And I guess, Emily, you got some bank terms, you contacted some banks and
Yeah, I sent out, a request for financing to 4 different banks. Only one came back to quote, the others just either don't touch equipment or didn't wanna quote it out for the amount of years that it was. So Home Trust Bank came back with one, it's a 4.75% interest, which is on par with what we got for the fire truck. It'd be a 10-year loan, and again, they know we're kind of waiting on the LGC, so we can go ahead, if you all approve, and just get everything signed and ready to go with the bank, so that once we make it to the LGC agenda, everything's good to go, and we can go ahead and get this loan processed, hopefully by the end of August or September.
and the budget ordinance that you approved for next year, I inserted the loan proceeds to go into the PAL bill fund, and the debt payment would be, the reimbursement loan will go to the general fund.
Yes.
And then, but the actual debt payment will be PAL bill money, like $19,000, we'll make this payment out of the, money we get from PAL bill each year. And then, of course, I came into Emily's office, and said, what's the geometry gonna be for? And it dawned on me, when loan proceeds come in, it's gonna be, because it'll be a debit to cash. And a credit will go on it, it won't be an expense, it'll go right into the fund balance.
Yes, we did a lot of accounting that day.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the home trust financing packet for the sidearm mower, pending LGC approval. All in favor, aye? Opposed, likewise, motion carries.
I guess next time, Mayor, is your item.
Yeah, we usually pick a citizen of the year, this year 24-25. My nomination would be Trade State Diamond. And on the morning that the storm started, I went down to have breakfast. She said everything was out, and so they cooked me breakfast on a small stove in the back. And then she goes, we're gonna lose this, it's not gonna be back. And she gave me probably $400 worth of stuff to give to the fire department. After that, they realized they were gonna lose stuff, and rather than lose it and turn it over to the insurance, they opened their store, and 3 people cooked and fed people free until they ran out. Then they hooked up their Wi-Fi, and I guess they had whatever that special thing was, they fixed it up and let people come and use it. And then they went home and got a portable shower trailer and brought it. And so they stayed there for the better part of a week until they ran out of everything they had, and they gave it to the town. And there were other people that did things too, but nobody went above and beyond like they did. So I think that was a clear nomination, and even at the end of it, before Thanksgiving, that name came to me more than a dozen times. Hey, look at these people, they need something, look what they've done. I had no idea how much they gave, but you were there, when we started unloading that stuff, I was surprised, but they emptied all 3 of their freezers and either gave it to the fire and police department or just cooked it and gave it to people.
At the Trade Street Diner. Is it, you said the Trade Street Diner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we need to use, make sure we get the spelling right, whether it's Tanya and David, or whether it's the business, probably the 2 people, but Tanya was fine that morning. So that was my nomination for what they did for this town. So,
I was good with that. I mean, yeah.
I agree with that.
Okay,
It was,
okay, Chair will support a motion.
so,
Okay. So it's Tanya and Davey for Trade Street Diamond. All in favor, aye? Opposed, likewise, motion carries. Okay. Jim, you got anything else, or we move to skip?
We move the step. We have a closed session we'll go to later.
okay. These are just questions I keep hearing from citizens around, what are we gonna do about this, what are we gonna do about that? The big thing is, invasive plants that are just eating our town alive. I recommend you just ride up Lockhart Road, and it's frightening to see what's going on up there. Now the bamboo is out heavy as can be. Of course, the kudzus climbing over the lines. Duke did spray, I guess, their right away, but, there's a house up there that, I mean, it's hit my truck, it's so low when I go through there. So I would just like us to look at a plan, or at least for me to understand what the town's responsibility, private owners, and I'm like Bill, we've got to start, when private property starts encroaching on our land, we gotta do something.
You know, I mean, as an example, you go to Methodist Church, the far right-hand side of the parking lot there on Newmarket. And then that first house on the corner, they have done nothing for decades. Their kudzu vines, this, big, around. Now, all it takes is a $15 machete. And so people can't say, I can't afford it. I don't know, I mean, I've been arguing for years that we need to enforce we have an ordinance, a noxious weed ordinance. And you just send people a letter, kill your kudzu.
Yeah.
Or keep it on your property.
That's the key, I mean, because if you, again, drive down Lockhart, it's coming down the hills and it's actually encroaching on the road now.
And,
You can't see the,
I mean, you can't buy, broadleaf by the, 55-gallon barrel and give it away to the citizens for some odd reason, but do we even have a license sprayer on staff?
We have two, well, I've already talked to Chuck, Andrew, and Brad, about spraying our property in the right of ways and that kind of thing. We're all kind of coordinating on that, but yeah, so Philip Miller and Brad are the only two people that are licensed to spray. So we recently, I think we got a pump and a tank for $200 or $300. So we're ready to go in a way. And yes, we do have that noxious weed ordinance. I can drive around and start throwing out notices, or we wanna, I've already got some neighbors calling on their other neighbors, and I'm acting on those.
Yeah, I mean, it's also an educational thing. People, it's really not, I mean, I spent $98 for 2.5 gallons of, broadleaf. And there's no poison ivy, wisteria, kudzu, between the clock tower, and I'm working my way to School Street on Rogers Park side, and I even hit a little bit in your back, but I said, now I'll leave this for Skip.
and I've got some guys.
But yeah, and I've done over 100 feet back in the woods across the railroad tracks, because I'm trying to keep the wisteria out of the big trees, because they'll drag a healthy tree to the ground. We've had
cut the big mother load stalk and then use crossbow or something on there.
Yeah.
Because if we keep cutting, it just keeps coming back. We gotta kill it.
Gotta kill it.
Well, and one of my neighbors, they never lived there, they're never at the house. And one of their big trees fell down almost across the road. Kudzu's just grown all over it. I mean, Duke came, because they have an easement, and they cut it up, and the town cut it up a little bit too, they helped with it. But it's now coming over towards our property, and Jeff and I are like, well, it's illegal for us to go spray on their.
No, it's not.
We can just
Just
go.
spray the hell
Spray
out
it.
of it.
But, they're blaming us for the tree falling down, it's their tree, and it's like, yeah.
And then send them a bill for kudzu eradication.
Yeah.
Ken, what is our town ordinance as far as keeping invasives on, out of other people's property?
It basically just says no noxious weeds.
Okay.
It doesn't say anything about then if it's like a tree falling on a property, it's probably like a private property thing.
Yeah.
If your tree falls on his property or vice versa,
It's his tree.
so it's really just a concentrated or general no noxious weeds.
Yeah. I think education is gonna be the big trick with citizens, and
Jim, can you tell us about the Flat Rock ordinance? I mean, they've got
I got a copy of it for you. What
Yeah.
they did was just a little background, the Appearance Commission here in Polk County, been giving grants out to a park committee and others, and, but the rules are you only can do it on public property. So the grants have gone to like Harmon Field, Ziegler Field, and other areas in town where it's publicly owned property. What Village of Flat Rock has done, they decided to put up public money to give out to individuals. They took the decision that kudzu is really a public nuisance problem for the entire village, so they're willing to give grants to homeowners. So my neighbor got a grant from Flat Rock, they're doing my property, and then people behind us who have the kudzu, my neighbor's a realtor, and she kind of orchestrated that they better take the lead on it too. So in my case, a neighbor and myself, the previous property behind us, who had all the kudzu, and the village did a 4-person effort, and they're gonna be spraying leak today in my property. But they give out taxpayer money as grants till they run out each year. They do maybe 11 to 13 grants a year roughly.
This, the item number 2 on their cooperative agreement says the village will perform the work on highway right-of-ways and the owner's property.
Yes, they'll do it,
So they'll come on private property.
yes.
Okay.
The county said that they wouldn't do that because they, private property people should take care of their own. The Flat Rock felt it's not gonna get done if we don't take the lead. That's what they've done. So I know the Appearance Commission for the county have met with me, and they would like to see us take the lead on it, do something like Flat Rock Village is doing. So we guys want to consider, putting up some public money.
I have no problem with that.
We gotta come up with a plan.
Yeah.
Do we hire a private landscaper to go on, do we get, what the waiver is, and, I just like the idea of us just spraying the state and city right-of-ways. And then we open that up, and the homeowner can see to start with, get in there and finish attack the demon.
And then if the private property starts encroaching back on it, we can call the homeowner and say, this is your problem now,
Yeah.
keep it off our property.
Right, let them know there's a plan for kudzu eradication, and then encourage people to do it on their own properties. Maybe have a community event, or, this is the day we're all gonna,
Look, that's it.
jar kudzu.
Actually, January is the best time to go out to kudzu.
Exactly.
You can see the vines, poison ivy is dormant, and literally, it's an $18 to $20 machete will do 90% of the work in the wintertime.
And you can find the big nodes that are, eliminate those. Yeah.
You can take
They're
around,
huge.
like a Roundup, there are a couple of concentrates, and you put dye in it, and you just paint the stump once you cut the vine.
Same tree head on that one, my property, it's awful.
But yeah, we're scared, and privet's the worst in the state right now. That is the #1 invasive. It's on all our rivers and streams.
So Jim, we'll start mowing the right of ways now that we have, okay.
So would you want us to bring back at the August meeting, kind of mirror image of Flat Rock
Yeah.
Yeah, see,
for consideration?
figure out how many dollars, and
But then he called the town clerk up there, and they won't put up $5 grand, so it's, I don't know how many yards you're gonna spray for $5,000.
for chemicals, you can buy a 55-gallon drum.
Of course, then.
Labor is your,
Flat Rock's kind of funny, because all they have is, they've got a pretty healthy budget, but they only have 3 employees.
they have no fire, no water.
My wife said, Jim, you need to call Philly, the park needs mowing. And I said, Linda, those 2 town town clerk and assistant town clerk are pretty busy. So they did hire a fourth employee, a park ranger, but in any case, one of the council members is actually in charge of Kudzu. The actual council member comes out to the house and reviews the situation, and my neighbor got them to approve ours, but, the Kudzu problem is bad, but not as bad as, here. So it's more manageable, but they only put up 5,000 instead of, the Appearance Commission has given this town several grants on public property, but we need to do something about private. We'll put it back, staff put together something for the August meeting to look at.
And, you know, we need to do kudzu, tree of heaven, you know, bamboo is becoming awful.
Well, there's only one way to remove bamboo, and that's with
Cameras?
D9.
Yeah,
Boulders.
because those roots are
Yeah.
10 feet, but it's good, well, thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Okay, we put Bill in charge of it.
Yeah.
He seems to know a lot.
Exactly.
I love killing
Okay, next item.
The other thing, I was approached by some citizens that live up on Main Court and Galax Drive. And the mayor and I have talked about this several times. There's some misinformation being spread about, you know, what the town's gonna do back there. They say they don't want to park back there. It's town property. And I have met with Mark, and he's riled up the neighbors over there.
Neighbors riled him up, trust me, they start with Mark.
Well, all I want to do is give them a clear, concise idea of what we're planning back there. And I know the town.
Well, let me say this in public. They had a complaint about what I wanted to put there. They came and said at this meeting, and they didn't want the parking up there, so I agreed to move the parking back down to where the regular parking is. They didn't want a gazebo up there on their level, so I agreed to move it down that little hill, because if you go there, it goes downhill from there. And they didn't want a rock wall there, so I couldn't put a rock wall anyway, so that's gone. And the thing is, they just really don't want it and they don't care. But we got that because Mark introduced me to the man who owned it. I was considering buying it if he'd sell it and doing exactly the same thing. And I told the guy, I said, if you'll donate it to the town, I'll put a garden there in honor of my wife. All I want to do is plant some sunflowers up towards the top.
So it's not gonna be a big formal garden with.
No, the original plan that was in the paper, the only three things they fussed about, and then the board said, yes, go. I gave them everything they wanted. What they want is they don't want anything, they want the land, and I have no, good with it. I just have an email.
Okay.
But, and two of those names that he gave you, I went by and talked to one of them, and he goes, Alan, I haven't talked to anybody about that, you gave us everything we wanted. And that's the guy that lives at the top of the hill, right there, where the walkway almost would come up.
Yeah.
So, that's it in a nutshell.
And I guess since we're talking, you know, we're talking about the sewer line trail coming down from Spanish Court. And what is it, well, it is Huey and Don. They're willing to do something. They're now thinking maybe bring the trail on the left side of Spanish down the driveway. And really all they're asking is if we just survey that Spanish Court property, the outside, so everybody knows where the line is. And then when then we can put it into an easement.
Well, let me put this in for the record. Right after those people moved here, I met with them, and we discussed what I was doing, what was already there. My neighbor has given some land to the town, Dr. McCall, and if we've agreed to come up beside the creek, it would be on part of their property. They said, yeah, they thought they'd give a right of way to that, people could walk. So you could go in an IGA and walk up to Melrose.
Good.
And part of that property line that belongs to me, part of it belongs to my neighbor, and I don't think they'd have a problem since they already gave the town some to go to Rogers Park. And then, when those people met, they go, yes, we would be interested in doing that, so people could walk all the way. And so that's tied the whole thing together. It was Woodland Park, the piece I got donated, what my neighbor gave, what I'm willing to give the right of way to, and what these people are willing to do. So it involves 5 different landowners I know. And now there was one little spot we didn't have, a guy named Udo. At the end of that road, where that little red house is, he's given us half of his yard, which connects everything else. Harris Garden connects with Woodland Park. The part he's given us connects with Harris Garden and with these people's land. And the bottom of his land runs into my land across the creek. So we could have a nice walkway out through there.
And actually, coming up, you know, we maintain that sewer line trail, nobody on any side will ever see the person walking the trail.
Correct.
I mean, it's just not, unless they defoliage their property, and most of it's bamboo along there.
People take care of
I
that.
think that's why Udo's giving it away.
But, yeah, so anyway, I guess what we need to do is come up with a park plan, a map of what we want to do, and find out what the cost is to survey the whole thing and get it on, you know. And I'm guessing a survey runs, what, a couple grand now?
Depends on the size, but
Yeah.
Harry's has already been done and paid for.
Okay.
Okay, Udo's is in the works,
Mm-hmm.
and we only have to have then from Udo to the top of the hill.
Okay.
So,
Anyway,
I'm sure Lynn's got her property surveyed, so there's the survey.
Lynn's property, you know it was surveyed.
Yeah, so we know where that line is.
And when they bought Hidden Hill, you know, I mean, Hidden House, you know, they got everything surveyed.
yeah.
So, it very well line that has not been surveyed recently, and you know that the.
Yes. Spanish Fort, when they bought it, they didn't survey.
Well, the big house that John owns, the big white house that's on the market, I think it's about to get ready to close, but he's recently had a survey because he only bought it 2 years ago. So everything there just about surveyed, they're right.
We want to go do that.
Can we maybe walk what you guys are talking about someday?
Yeah, sure, come grab it.
You can go in and the part of the town people cut part of the path to get up there. And there's a little hill, and it would probably require, some steps where I was talking about, but I knew that to start with. That's why I gave the town a check for $10,000, and then when Harriet died, so a little bit more money was donated, and then a couple of friends of mine gave some, so it's probably 11 or 12,000 in that account. Somewhere, because somebody didn't put it in the right account when I wrote 2 checks for it. Not here, gone.
We'll find it.
Well,
We'll.
And I got a little upset when I went looking for it, it was not in a line item anywhere. I love this town, but I'm not gonna give you $10,000 just because it's easy.
You gotta cancel check.
I took that out
Yeah,
myself.
free Emily, free Jim.
Nothing, nothing.
All right.
I'll get that laid out to you.
Okay, that'd be great. And just so I understand, the memorial garden would just be at the top on that level, flat area?
Where their property begins, for lack of a better word, let's say this is the hill, and this wall right here is their property. On this side of their wall, I only put about 6 or 8 feet and plant nothing but sunflowers. That's it.
So we're not talking about structures and
No.
there won't be a ton of people.
And by the way, from that land, if he was gonna sell it, one of the reasons I was gonna buy it is because we already talked about that with whoever was here before Tim. That piece of property is big enough to put 1 or 2 houses on, which is one of the reasons I didn't want to market. You could have flowers and somebody else get them in your backyard.
Cell tower update, I've been asked about that.
We're just waiting on an application. I contacted them about a week and a half ago. They were asking me about if the lease terms were acceptable, and, I verified with William that there was a general consensus that they were, and I was like, yes, get us an application, but
Last time the lease was done prior to the application, right?
Yeah.
So I guess they're a little bit nervous about spending a lot of money on getting it through the Board of Adjustment and then getting turned down for the lease. I mean, we can just try to reassure them, and we have to bring the lease in here.
What's the procedure? They go to the planning board first, and the lease goes to town board second?
It could be either way.
Either way.
To me, last time, I felt that the lease should have been done, and I can't remember all the reasons why now, but that should have went through the planning board and then town approved the lease, because it might have looked like it was all fixed, you know,
I
whatever.
mean, can we, the town, go to the planning board? I mean, that way they don't have to spend their money. Let the
You don't
planning.
wanna do that, I mean, this is pretty complicated stuff, I mean, they've got experts that will come and testify before the planning board to get the permit. So you don't wanna carry that long, but you could go ahead and approve the lease contingent on permit being issued.
Mhm.
Okay, the lease would be with Verizon, is that?
I'm not sure of the legal entity, it's the, basically, but it's a company that
Okay.
is affiliated with Verizon, which is out develop sites.
Was there some talk about moving the tower to a different area besides the water? Julie lives in Gillette Woods,
Me
and,
too.
we get a lot of comments from the residents over there about it.
So I know the site that Verizon has picked, we have to relocate the emergency generator at the water plant,
Which they're paying for.
which they're gonna pay for to get the exact perfect spot that they want.
There was a different spot, but it was on a lot that may have been allegedly subject to some old,
The Gillette Homeowners Association.
what do you call it? What's the word I'm looking for? Condition, not conditions. Covenants, restricted covenants. The covenants have never been renewed. There's a number of problems, but rather than to have that issue in court, they just found another spot in the same general area there at the water plant that wouldn't work as well, as good, whatever.
So we're
So
negotiating with Verizon for terms on a lease, long-term lease, is that the?
No, that was already, that part's kind of
That,
done, that was agreed on the previous council.
Mhm.
This lease would be a little different, but not much than what was approved last time. Basically, it's just the locations, things that you.
And financial terms are better for the town.
Right.
And so that area, that location is totally confirmed now, because I've had neighbors ask me if it's an open discussion for the council, they wanted to come and express their opinion on it, but you're saying that it was decided in the last council of the location?
That is their intent to apply for that location by law.
But the town has not approved the lease.
No,
It
they
has
haven't,
not.
yeah.
There will be an opportunity for them to have a problem.
For open discussion.
There was talk about alternative methods, like with, putting those co-location towers on telephone poles, but our ordinances only allow cell phone towers on town-owned property and, P1
Well,
park.
the town can't say no to the 5G, but there's federal law on that. I mean, I'm not well versed on it right now. I did at one time know the ins and outs of that. I can look it back up, but anyway, you're limited in what you can do in terms of,
People don't realize a 5G antenna looks just like a car antenna.
yeah,
That's how big they are.
they're all over the place.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
Right, and I was researching it last night, looking into the health issues, they haven't found anything yet, so I think maybe just educating everyone, it won't affect the water. I would,
Well, there's a reason why the tower is
Researching on the
needed.
one research done about one guy,
Mhm.
and everybody points to that, is, which, And two is, most people, y'all, I assume you are, you're aware that we did have a cell tower down there.
Yeah, I heard that, yeah.
And that's where we wanted to put it, but we couldn't.
Do we have a timetable on?
Yeah, we did it 2 years ago.
Yeah, before the next
hurricane.
national
Before the
disaster,
next
we have no
hurricane.
communications.
They want assurance that the lease is gonna be approved before they, this is what I understood from the last email that I was CC, or you sent me. The assurance that the lease is gonna be approved before they get all revved back up with Board of Adjustment, that's expensive, you know, cause they got lawyers, lawyer from Raleigh who does a lot of these that I'm assuming will show up for this. And this company that's a subsidiary of Verizon, fly their guy down from Minnesota or somewhere. It's not cheap, even though it's just one tower we're trying on. I mean, they're going all in, so I think they really want it and need it, or they wouldn't do that.
I mean, are we good with the lease?
We could do this, how about if today could they make a motion to ask the town attorney and staff to bring back at the next meeting?
Yeah,
Proposed
you
lease?
all have seen the lease, and we talked about it. And
I don't think the new council's seen
I
it.
don't know if they have.
We had.
Yeah, oh, you weren't here
I
yet.
might have been here.
Is that public information?
I thought it was not that long.
If it was submitted?
What's that?
When you were
I think it's-
negotiating.
It was done before they got,
Okay.
A year, for 10 years, am I still remembering correctly? Was it 18 a year?
10 years.
It was a 10-year contract, but how much was it? 18,000, 22,000? I can't remember.
It's much, much higher than it was proposed for the first one.
Yeah,
So,
because you and I got together and we sent a ridiculous amount that we knew we weren't gonna get because they were trying to lowball us. And we sat in the office and I talked to the guy and I said, do not lowball us. We've already had one and you're not the only company. So what did they do? They lowballed us.
so, put the lease on the next meeting.
Okay, let's do that.
That sounded good.
And so in the meantime, the exact location is right above the water tower, if I wanna go drive and look at.
It's where their current generators.
Yeah, if you drive up there, there's a big giant green generator.
That's where.
That's where
They're
it's
gonna probably put their pad on that concrete
Okay.
pad.
So they straight up, again, I spoke to them and I said that there was a general consensus agreed upon on that last lease. And that was their trigger point to move forward with their application. This was, like I said, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Do I need to tell them to hold off? Are we doing this again?
Just tell them that the lease is on for consideration in August.
Okay.
We don't want to delay this.
Yeah, I think that's your concern, is if you go back and say they're not gonna look at it until August, that
Yeah.
they may pump the brakes until after you talk to them again in August.
Just don't do anything.
Oh gosh, poor Tim.
Okay.
But it was approved in the old council for him to
Yeah,
move forward.
I think it was,
I mean,
but those were different numbers. Everything has
right, it has
been
changed.
massaged out to,
Yeah.
I don't know, go get the lease real quick, let's approve it.
I think you have to,
2 readings or?
I think it requires.
Well, the action could be today, directs the town attorney and staff to bring back the lease with the Verizon to be considered for next month.
William, does it require a public hearing?
That's what I'm trying to remember.
I was thinking it did. I can't
I
remember.
mean, it depends on the tower,
I don't,
there's
I
no
can
link
find
in
out, I mean, I
place.
can look it up, but.
Okay.
You
But
won't
this is a
see,
public hearing, you've got
Well, that gives us something.
plenty of time.
Yeah,
this bigger in,
Okay.
I imagine the new ones are just, steel telephone poles, they may
It
even
was
be.
a single pole tower. That was
Yeah.
their proposal.
Yeah,
Have any?
90, no.
The 99 feet's the max, but I don't think it has to go that high because it's up on the hill now.
It's gonna be actually a shorter tower, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly, than the original tower, but
Yeah, they just wanna get it up high enough to really broadcast on the saluted grade.
It may even bend down to Lake Lanier too.
Yeah. I mean, I just think for emergencies,
Yeah, this-
you know, during the hurricane, it was pretty spooky around here with zero communication.
They have service up on Lock, so it's,
Lakewood in a very similar situation, and the tower down there is controversial too.
And we can allow them to tie on to our generator. You know, they quit generating their cell towers. Most of these have no generators now, so when the power goes down, towers all go down.
I think the water plant would take priority over the cell tower, but
Yeah, but
I don't know.
how much wattage do they actually use and since we're reburying, I mean, I don't
I
know.
don't think any good, if their whole system is down because of power outage,
Well,
would one cell tower still work, I mean, as far as, I don't know.
yeah, I mean,
Depends on the severity of the event, yeah.
they're big areas they generate, but they're little towers everywhere. Alex Trumbull used to be a contractor with them, that he would go around filling up generators. And during the storm, I said, aren't you working? He goes, no, they pulled all the generators. Because where it used to be, you know, you have to keep 50 towers full of fuel, nothing. They did away with it all. So they just go down with the rest of it.
I don't think it really needs a motion.
Don't we want it working?
Yeah.
Don't we want it working though, isn't that the whole
No.
reason?
Yeah.
Well, staff got direction.
We could do it, yeah. Wait on there, I guess.
So, were you saying we would have a open meeting then for,
Again,
citizens to come in August?
The August meeting, there's no meeting in July.
Right.
I don't think it's a public hearing, but you have to still publish
Post it.
that it's gonna be considered. You have to do that in the paper.
The last one we had was like a public information session, there was no real legal, that was an optional meeting we decided to have just so people could express it, but I don't think we do that until we have an actual hard copy of an application, cause there's hypotheticals that people
Right, they're gonna ask you questions and you need to answer.
are not gonna have the information.
Yeah.
Hopefully they can turn that around in a month or two. But I don't know if it's kinda cart before the horse kind of thing.
Ultimately, I don't think it matters if the lease is approved or the permit approved first, the order. It's just, I remember thinking this, it might be perceived as something that if the lease is approved, then it's a done deal before this quasi judicial planning board. It's more perception.
So I guess, Tim, if it goes in the council meeting in August, will the application, and was this go before the planning board before the August council meeting? Cause you got, the council meeting is the 19th of August. So the planning board,
I can't imagine that it's gonna hit the planning board before
Yeah.
then.
I don't know what their time frame is, I mean, the last one they submitted took a good clip to put together, cause they had all the drawings and
Yeah.
the blueprints and the topos and everything.
I think I've seen all that stuff for the new location, or a lot of it was circulated.
There were some preliminaries, but official,
Yeah.
the preliminary drawings were way slimmer than the last application we had, so I think that we're gonna expand on those for the official application.
so whose court is the ball? Ours or Verizon?
I would say it's in Verizon's to get us
That's why it's
an
stalled.
application.
Nobody really knows.
I mean, yeah, they gave some preliminary drawings, but not all of the paperwork that was required. It was just like, hey, this is what we're
The
thinking.
way the ordinance reads, once the application is submitted for Board of Adjustment, plan board approval, There's a time, a certain number of days when it has to be considered,
I
right?
believe so, yeah.
And it's like 60 or 90, I don't know, but that's not what happened before August meeting of the council.
Or, if something does happen, we can always shoot out for a special meeting on it.
Yeah, you could.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Very briefly, my last two comments, again, were invasives and ordinance enforcement. We do have ordinances on the books. It's property owners are responsible to get. So if I can send you some property addresses, you can forward some others out.
I can, I might need to get a little yellow pad.
I'll be contacting you too, yes.
But, yeah, I mean, they're on the books. We have them on
It's
the books.
like, I can't recall if I've read Tryon's noxious weed, ordinance, but just like all the others. It can be enforced by civil penalties, a daily civil penalty, once the deadline is reached, and the town also has authority to go in and do the work or cause the work to be done, and then that cost becomes a lien on the property.
And you were saying that Duke was going on spraying also?
Well, Duke's doing their telephone
Yeah.
poles.
Okay.
And they just.
Cause they have the easement next to my house where the neighbor is never home, so I'll contact them and see if they can come do it, right?
Really all they're doing is the guide wires and the telephone poles,
Okay.
trying to keep it off of.
Hopefully
They don't
we'll
care
have
what's
GA.
underneath it.
Okay.
You know, they are spraying for pine trees and stuff like that
Yeah.
under their power line.
But it could get up to their
Yeah.
power line, cause it's getting up high. Okay. Alright.
Yeah, give me a list.
All right, and the last thing was, Denny talked to several, my wife Denny, we talked to several, communities that are part of the Main Street program, and they have applied for federal block grants for invasive control. Have we looked into?
Probably going to the council governments for assistance on that type of grant application.
Yeah. I'll get with Lourdes, maybe we can pursue
Yeah,
that.
just,
To the Foothills Regional Commission.
Yeah, I can talk to,
Yeah.
I can talk to the people there.
The Foothills Regional Commission has a resource of experience on community block grants, and they've got the staff, and they'll do an application. They did the parking study for us recently. But they could be the contact person to find out more about that.
all right.
Speaking of parking study,
What?
Jim wasn't here, I was thinking, they didn't tell us where to put a single parking place.
Well, I think some of the things on the parking,
Mm-hmm.
that's not on the agenda. Well, I guess it is. One of the thoughts I had, and I shared with Tim, is that, parking solutions, each community is a little bit different. What works for Hendersonville wouldn't work here. But one of the ideas I had was making Maple Street a one-way street, and then put in, parking all the way down to Howard, and then get all the town employees to park in that area as well as employees from merchants, and then open up that town-owned lot to be 100% public parking. Cause it is kind of hard to find parking, spaces. But also too, when we did a parking study in Brevard, they identified all public parking, city-owned lots, parking in the street. And they also listed all the private parking, for example, like, you've got parking next to the shops at Triad. It's a privately owned lot, but people can go there and park and go shopping downtown. And then you've got other spots, like the pack lot, same thing. And looking at your total inventory. And of course, my personal opinion is, I think the goal for Tryon should be providing free parking to our local residents, our visitors, and people that work downtown, is our goal. but I don't think paid lots are gonna be
No.
available here. They work great in Brevard, they work great in, Hendersonville, but it's just, we have enough parking for everybody, local residents and so forth, and,
And what street do you wanna make one way?
Maple.
Maple.
As you go past Rock Cleaners, Maple, see,
Oh, all the way,
All
it's
the way down.
already one way
Yeah.
down,
Yeah,
so
that
just
way,
take it all the way
you could
down.
have all the town employees parking like diagonal parking, all the way up, as well as people, some merchants, and keep the other lots open to the public.
Yeah, that makes sense. And, you know, even Palmer has parallel parking availability in
Well,
the
also
future.
too, over here in East Howard,
Right,
all the
it's just,
Stott employees park over there on that street.
it's just making it obvious for people to know that's where they park.
And, you know, politely, we gotta figure out how to get the merchants off Main Street.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, some of them were the ones complaining that.
And I
they
did
were-
say
there were
politely.
people coming to their day.
Let them in the show.
That's,
There's no parking for their people.
Yeah, precision.
I know.
but that's enforcement. I mean, we have 2 hours, if we start enforcing that, then those business owners will not be parking there for all day long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing too, which, like when I was up in Highlands, what they did, they have free parking. But they, during the season from April 15th to like the end of October, they have like a zone in the downtown area that if you're an employee of the town, employee of any of the merchants, you're supposed to park outside that bubble. And so what worked for Highlands is when people came up from Atlanta, they pulled in downtown, found a place to park, it's free, they're happy, they get out and spend lots of money.
Yeah.
Hendersonville is quite the opposite, there's no free parking anywhere.
No, not anymore. It's
Yeah, there
horrible.
is, in front of the Baptist church.
Or the Chamber of Commerce.
Or your market law.
Visitor center.
So what I do is I've got the parking app, and I just pay the $4 and it's done. But the whole thing is, I think we could probably do a modified thing like Highlands during the peak area. Is do the bubble, encourage the employees to park out of the bubble outside,
Yeah.
and so you have open parking for visitors.
I have to walk like 5 or 6 blocks sometimes when I go to Asheville to park, to find my free parking when I work there. So why people can't walk a block, you know? You know what I mean? It's like,
But the only thing is if you park below trade, that's a pretty steep hill for
yeah.
some of the older.
No, but I'm talking about for the employees.
Employees.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they're not parking like on Trade Street.
Yeah.
Like, for example, all employees park in that public owned lot right now. But we could easily get them out onto Maple Street, and that'd be a nice open area for people who wanna park there and walk up.
And it's an easy walk up. I mean, you know, even Ray McLeese still walks up that hill, so anybody can walk up that hill.
Up Maple there, so they can walk down the bathrooms.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, well, you got.
They won't, because they'll never see them.
But I guess July 31st, when we have the, Salute a Grade celebration, we'll be putting parking to the test
Yes.
on that day.
Yeah.
In compliments to the town employees, that deck is going up nicely.
They're knocking it out quick, yeah. Good job.
And, you know, where y'all saw us set up with the tent Friday night,
It's
that's
awesome.
exactly, and we have a low pressure system from the depot to the sewer line at the depot. Why can't we go from a public bathroom there to the low pressure system at the depot?
I think that's the perfect place for it.
Yeah, I think so.
There's only 2 steps up to get up to.
But Bill, I thought you were saying there was wires under, you thought there might be
There's
cables. and
fiber
stuff.
optic cable, yeah, there's international fiber optic cable that runs through there, but I imagine when they plow that thing 3-4 feet
Yeah.
deep.
Or you can use the bathroom and talk on the phone at the same time. Maybe that's what it was.
And you can put a Wi-Fi in the new bathroom, but it's, I just, you know, once, we gotta get permission from Conserving Carolina or the state park or whoever takes over the rails and trails. Cause that is gonna be their property.
Well, once that happens, then we'll sit down and have a bathroom meeting.
Yeah, I mean, come up with a real plan.
Clarify a lot of things once that's in place.
Yeah.
You know, we talked 18 years ago, we did the first trails type here. Of putting a caboose, lowering it, and putting an on-ramp on both ends of it, and put public restrooms in there. Right
Yeah,
there on the left.
cabooses won't work for public restrooms. I've seen enough of them over the years. Because
These are options.
they're terraced. They come up, and they come up, and they come up again.
No, I get that.
But a boxcar looks good. I mean, you know,
Just make it look like.
or a concrete block. We can disassemble the field house, lay the blocks, bring them up here and rebuild a bathroom.
Or the wood from the cabin.
Or the wood from the cabin.
Like a little log cabin.
Are we ready to go into closed session? You got anything else before we go?
No.
Oh, really quick though, but so the parking will kind of finalize, have a discussion.
Is that an idea that you'd like to bring back for council consideration, make Maple Street one way and add parking?
I think it'd be a wonderful idea.
Okay.
I talked to, the landscaper down there, I believe they said they'll move their equipment off like they should, but, so that'll be more. And we already got estimates to clean it up. Anyway,
Oh, okay, cool.
Chair, will entertain a motion to go into closed session.
Make a motion.
All in favor, aye? Likewise, motion carries. Jim?